Now let's talk about the meeting of the G20 finance ministers, which was held today in South Africa, even as the United States stayed away from the forum. Well, the finance chiefs of the top 20 world economies are meeting to discuss the state of the world economy under the increasing geopolitics, the new wave of economic nationalism and uncertainty. Now, the host country calls for strong leadership and cooperation, while the World Bank highlights the need for strong multilateralism in the world that's getting increasingly polarized. Listen.
Good morning to those of you here, and good day to our online participants. It is my great pleasure to welcome you to this ministerial dialogue on mobilizing G20 private investment for sustainable growth in Africa. As the G20 president for 2025, South Africa is honored to host this important side event in collaboration with our co-chair, the Federal Republic of Germany, and our valued partners, the World Bank Group, the International Monetary Fund, and the African Development Bank, and the African Center for Economic Transformation. This dialogue is taking place at a pivotal moment. Africa's development trajectory is at a crossroad. While the continent is rich in opportunity, it continues to face significant challenges, ranging from infrastructure deficit and climate vulnerability to constrained fiscal space and limited access to long-term private capital. In this context, the Combat with Africa initiative remains a promising platform for fostering reform-driven investment partnership between African countries and the private sector. The initiative is co-chaired by Germany and South Africa and was initiated under the Germany G20 presidency to promote private investment in Africa, including infrastructure. Since its launch in 2017, the Compact for Africa has grown into a dynamic initiative that has mobilized over $191 million in private capital, $191 million in private capital, supported by the development of bankable projects and improved access to services for over 13.5 million people. It has also fostered a strong peer learning network among participating countries, supported by institutions like the African Center for Economic Research, and provided a structured framework for reform through regular monitoring and technical assistance. Today's dialogue has three key objectives. First, to raise awareness of the Compact with Africa as a platform for political dialogue and cooperation between the G20 members and reform-oriented African countries. Second, to showcase the tangible impact of the Compact to date, highlighting successful projects and reform outcomes across member countries. And thirdly, to present the vision for an enhanced Compact with Africa, a more ambitious phase that aims to deepen technical assistance, expand country coverage, and galvanize strong G20 involvement, particularly from the private sector and development finance institutions. This morning, the agenda reflects goals. We will begin with a roundtable discussion on experience and lessons learned from the implementing reforms supported by the Compact with Africa. We will also hear from key institutional partners and development leaders on how we can scale up the initiative. Importantly, we will explore how to strengthen in-country coordination, enhance mutual accountability, and identity in innovative financing mechanisms that can unlock greater private sector participation. These discussions are not only timely, but also essential if we are to meet the Sustainable Development Goals and build resilient, inclusive economy across the continent. As we look ahead, the success of the Compact with Africa will depend on our collective commitment. We must ensure that this initiative remains country-owned, reform-driven, and results-oriented. And we must work together, governments, multilateral institutions, and the private sector, to create the enabling conditions for sustainable investment and inclusive growth. In closing, I want to thank all of you for your presence and your continued support. Let us use this platform to reaffirm our shared commitment to Africa's development and to forge stronger, more impactful partnerships for the future. I thank you.
Thank you, Duncan. And Enoch and Lars, thank you for having us part of this effort. And Lars, thank you for that generous contribution that you just announced. I appreciate it. Look, by the middle of this century, 1 in every 4 people on Earth will be African. Africa will have the largest workforce in the world. It will also be the youngest. Its cities will be among the fastest growing. But population is just one part of that story. It's got land and water, abundant land and water. It could help feed a rapidly growing planet. Its critical minerals can power everything from electrical vehicles to solar panels. And it has the resources to meet its own energy needs, and in fact, potentially, the world's energy needs. So Africa, I believe, will help to define this century, but it needs the right investments focused on opportunity, not on need. We have a chance to unlock a tremendous engine of global growth, and I think the way Lars talks about the Institute is yet another way of thinking about how to create the right dialogue for this growth to be unlocked. But here's the issue. This future I just portrayed is not guaranteed, because in the same period of time, over the coming decade plus, or across the world in the developing economies, 1.2 billion young people will enter the workforce. Each will be competing for about the 400 million jobs that are likely to be created in those countries in that period. That leaves 800 million young people without hope, opportunity, and work. Nowhere is that challenge more acute than in the same continent we just portrayed as an opportunity. Half of the generation could be left behind. That'll transform their energy and optimism into despair. It will fuel instability and migration with implications for every region, for every economy, for every community. And that's why we're focused on, as Enoch said, the private sector. The private sector is the engine of job creation. The private sector accounts for 90% of all employment, most of it through small businesses. Working to create the conditions that allow all businesses to thrive is what we're trying to do. And that is the point that Duncan was saying. What's the practitioner doing? Because the private sector cannot succeed on its own. It needs the right conditions to thrive, conditions that don't just arise by chance. And I think what we bring is something that can help uniquely in making that happen. Because we operate across a 3-set continuum. We combine public finance with expertise and private sector support to help countries move from planning to implementation and from implementation to actual growth. So first, public investment. Through IBRD and IDA, and a number of countries here are very generous donors to both of those, we help governments finance infrastructure, human and physical. These are the foundations that people and businesses need to thrive. Second, policy reform. Our Knowledge Bank works with countries to improve regulatory environments, strengthen governance, and tie financing to results.